Hi everybody, it's us again. Hello and welcome to our YouTube series on corporate immigration in Africa. Today's topic is Ghana. Yes, and I'm joined here by Simon. He will ask me apparently lots of questions which I usually ask. But yeah, I'm today the expert on Ghana. Without further ado, let's start. Again, the video I aim probably for 6 to 10 minutes. Let's see where it takes us. Enjoy it. Simon, let's start.
Cool. Well, I think the best place to start is just knowing how would you rate the immigration system in Ghana. Is it quite easy? Do there happen to be some difficulties with implementation? Maybe on a scale from 1 to 10, and why that rating?
Ghana rocks. It's a 9, I would say. Our experience in Ghana is good compared to other African countries. Man, lots of other countries can learn from them. I think the legislation is fairly online. It's English speaking, obviously making it a little bit easier, accessible. The outcomes are fairly predictable. It's understandable and it doesn't add too many hurdles. And in particular, the processing times are manageable and I think in line with international norms. So I rate it highly, and my team who works on Ghana a lot, they rate it very highly. So I give it a 9.
Okay, so not a large amount of shortcomings there.
No, I have to say, I mean, look, it's immigration and it's Africa, but I stand to my rating. It's good.
Fantastic. And then are there any industries or sectors that are exempt from or have more lenient immigration requirements in Ghana? I think does one submit all of those applications?
Yeah, I think that's very, very important to know that in Ghana there's actually quite a few exemptions. Okay, so we have the general immigration system, but then if you invest or belong to the mineral resource sector or oil sector, there are different rules. Also, if you would set up in one of the free zones, for instance, or in being assisted by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, there are slightly different rules applicable. So GIPC, Free Zone, Minerals Commission, and the Petroleum Commission, they have extra rules. They're not fundamentally different, but if you belong to these areas, it's a red flag that there's other rules. But they're normally easier. So, okay.
And then the general quality of the adjudication there? Are there lots of mistakes being made? Is it fair? I mean, you say it's a 9 out of 10, so I'm assuming incredibly reliable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
As reliable
but it's good. I mean, I have to say, it's a good system and the authorities are doing a good job.
Okay. And then what type of visitors' short-term work permits are available? And the durations of those, possibilities of extensions?
So that's an interesting one now, okay? Because all over Africa, usually we have short-term work visas, okay? Northern Africa, not really. So this is and Ghana also doesn't have one. So strictly speaking, they don't have one. However, if you're in the oil and gas sector, they do have rotator permits, okay? So again, there are certain sectors which do have short-term work, but in particular the oil sector. There might be one or two more. I don't know now, but I think in general, no short-term work. Okay.
And then any citizens from certain countries exempt from these visas and permits?
There's ECOWAS, okay, so the Western African countries, but they still need work permissions. It's just I think they can enter for 90 days and start a business, and only having an ID card and I think health certificate, and then that's fine, right? So it's much easier, but they still need then long-term residence and permissions. But yes, the entry for ECOWAS members is easier than for others. Okay. Although on that point, I mean, Ghana was the first one basically granting all AU members, African Union members, visa on arrival, right? So politically, the AU said in one of their last sessions, meetings, that obviously we want to support business travel in Africa, and most African countries require from each other entry visas and visas. Yeah. And Ghana was one of the first actually dropping it or offering at least on entry, which is a huge difference to consular service. Yeah.
And then the typical activities allowed on business permits?
On business permits or business visas?
Well, business permits and visas.
Okay. The business visa, let's say, so business visitors, let's call it business visitors, okay? So they are allowed to attend business meetings, they're allowed to attend conferences and seminars, and very limited productive work, okay? So that could include after sales installations. So that could be included in a business visa. In some other African countries, this would already cross the threshold to the short-term work, okay? But in Ghana, that's okay. And then brief periods of repairs. And then that's normally 60 to 90 days it's granted for.
And then any typical activities for the tourist permits? Are you allowed to conduct any business on that?
No, it's just tourism. So, strict, and that's 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90, okay. And you've touched on it now already, but the different types of the work permits in Ghana.
Yes. Well, there's one. So beside the sectors I was referring to, and beside the GIPC and potentially free zone, in general, Ghana works on a 3 to 4 step approach. First is the entry visa, for some nations issued on arrival. But by the way, practically, it's still sometimes of an advantage to apply at the Ghana visa at the Ghana consulate or mission in your home country, because then you have the visa and the passport and you avoid long queues when entering a Ghana airport, right? So that's maybe just a practical hint. Number one, so entry visa is number one.
Yes.
The step number two is then usually a medical checkup, which needs to be done in Ghana. Also, complete outlier, okay? So in all African countries, or most African countries, you can submit a medical certificate done in your home country, not in Ghana. You need to fly in and do a medical certificate. Then you apply for the work permission, okay? Sometimes, practically, we can apply for the work permission already and submit the medical certificate later. But the work permission will not be issued without the local medical certificate, okay? So that's step number: visa, medical, work permission. The last one is then the residence. So it's a 4-step approach. But to answer your question now, there's only one work permission.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's only one category.
Yeah.
And that's usually issued for a year. That's the work permission.
And the ideal lead time for the work permission?
I'm a bit out of touch out of the practical stuff, but probably 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah.
And any additional residence requirements?
Yeah, so the residence, as I said, is the last step of the 4 steps. Okay, so when the work permission is issued, then you need to apply for the local residence. Okay, and you can only start working when you have the residence. Not when you have the work permission. Now that's again slightly different. In Mozambique, for instance, there could be an argument that once you have the work permission, you can start working. But here in Ghana, you need to wait for the residence. The residence, however, is issued fairly quickly, within 2 weeks.
And any obligations the employer has once employment ends?
Yeah, they need to notify then obviously the immigration authorities, the Ghana Immigration Services or GIS. They need to be informed, and obviously if you immigrated or used the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, for instance, then they would have to be informed.
Okay, moving on to family, what options Ghana offers to families and how the applicants usually apply for that?
Yeah, so there is a study permit, but that's usually for people who would really enter Ghana to study themselves. But minor children and spouses, they would just get a residence permit as a dependent. So the main applicant has the work permission and the residence, and then the family gets attached to the residence of the main applicant.
Okay. Because does Ghana's dependent include parents, perhaps, or
no.
Is it just spouse and child?
So it's a narrow definition, like in Southern Africa, unlike Northern Africa or even the Emirates. So parents are not included. Okay, so it's spouse and children.
And then back on life partnerships, heterosexual, homosexual life partnerships, or is it restricted to marriage?
Okay. Marriage only, no life partnerships and no homosexual life partnerships.
Okay. Do any of the work permit categories offer a fast track option for the permanent residents?
No, not to my knowledge. I think permanent residents you can only get over a couple of years when you had the work permissions in the residence, or if you're married to a Ghanaian citizen. then you can apply for the permanent residence, but no other fast-track options.
And we mentioned some red flags earlier, but any other ones you want to specifically highlight again in this process?
I think Ghana is quite good in. So they give the work permission for a year, and the residence, and obviously in line with the year, right? So you can renew it, but after the year, you need to submit a couple of reports to the to GIS, the Immigration Services. And usually it has some component of a transfer of skills in there. Okay, so what did the foreigner do? What skills were transferred to a local? And they only renew it when you complied with this. Okay, so while obviously from an admin perspective, I don't totally agree that South Africa should have 1 year because it's very, very short and there's a lot of effort. From a compliance perspective, it's quite good, right? So that's maybe an important one to know, so that you really need to be compliant. Look, Ghana is not too fancy on legalizations and document authorization, so there's not a lot of red flags. It's straightforward. I would say if you have 3 months before the start date, you're fine. Sometimes we can combine that medical test, for instance, with a look and see trip. Okay, so often the signees, they have to fly in to look for school or housing. So we then send them to the medical, so we have it. And then when they fly back to their home country to maybe stop working there and wrapping things up, we already submit the work permission application with the medical. So at least that 6 weeks, what I indicated before, doesn't, they don't have to wait in country. So at least they can do something else. So the downtime in Ghana is a bit reduced while only waiting for the residents. But that's really it.
Okay. Well, fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us and watching our video on this. If you've got any questions about Ghana, you can check out our website, contact us directly, or look in the description to find any of our social media. We have a large amount of other videos on this corporate immigration, as well as videos on many other immigration topics, which you can find in our YouTube library as well. Thank you very much.
And by the way, he works in our marketing department. That's why he's so excited about this. So
I would
fantastic.
love you to check the other videos. Thank you.